Paso a Paso podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Paso podcast. My name is Miles. Happy to be back with you here, both on KNCE 93.5 FM and on our distributed podcast. Wherever you're listening right now, please continue to check in and listen back to our archives as well for a lot of great conversations on early childhood related topics in our area. And today we have another great conversation with two guests, and I always like to have the guests introduce themselves, so out of respect. So, Melissa, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi, my name is Melissa Smith. I am a home visitor with First Steps.
Perfect. Thanks for being here.
My name is Carla Vigil. I'm also a First Steps home visitor and been working with families for 20 years, and a lot of it around breastfeeding support. And also we're both part of the Latch On Coalition here in Taos. That is a support group for providers in our community.
Wonderful. Yeah, thanks both for your work that we're going to learn more about today, and also thanks for spreading awareness and reaching out to discuss this topic today. So let's get started. Talk about the history and the background of World Breastfeeding Week. I know that breastfeeding is something that most folks listening would be familiar with in various ways, but what is the history and background of this as a celebration of sorts?
Yeah, so World Breastfeeding Week, it's a global campaign to raise awareness and encourage action on themes around breastfeeding. And so Melissa will talk here in a moment a little bit more about this year's theme. And we celebrate World Breastfeeding Week every year on August 1st through the 7th in commemoration of the 1990 Innocenti Declaration, which again is a global initiative to protect, promote, and support breastfeeding around the world.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Melissa, at this point? I have a question, but I don't want to dive in too quickly. Well, you mentioned protect. You know, what? Can you inform us a bit about what that might relate to when you say protect breastfeeding?
Well, I was going to end with that.
I'm sorry. Well, I will talk about it later. You know, these are the reasons to stay tuned, listeners. You know,
well, I mean, not for the whole thing, but when I could jump into just the theme then. How about that?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So when this was presented for this year, you know, we were thinking about what does it mean? What does shared responsibility mean when it comes to breastfeeding? And so we have our actors in our community here in Taos. We have our OBs and midwives. We have some of them at Women's Health Institute, WIC, Tiwa Babies, and First Steps home visiting programs. We have our lactation consultant, Jana Bailey. We have our Indigenous breastfeeding counselor, Aspen Mirabal. So these are at the prenatal phase. We also have labor and delivery. We have pediatricians. And the ROAMS grant, and Jana Bailey, who's managing that. So the ROAMS grant stands for Rural OB Access and Maternal Services for Northeastern New Mexico. One of the things it does is it's making lactation services available to all women for free for as long as they need in Taos and surrounding rural communities. And so we keep, you know, there's more actors. We have the workplace, we have the family, and we have our community, we have our town and county. So it's a law. Breastfeeding moms are protected by law to breastfeed in public. So that's what I think of as far as protecting breastfeeding. I mean, I think all of the actors are also in place to protect breastfeeding, educating families. You know, breastfeeding is this amazing thing, and there's so many things going on. So we need all these people to be supporting moms and families, educating, providing care. So it's more than, I guess, just the law that protects them. It's all these people protecting the right, protecting information. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation that can go around. So providing accurate health information, I don't know, Carla, what do you think? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that also when we think about protecting, it's the mother-infant dyad that we want to protect so that they have the support that they need to continue their breastfeeding journey. And again, like Melissa said, all of these partners and actors contribute to that. And so whether it's the, family support at home or, talking about breastfeeding in the prenatal period and just what that looks like even at that point because baby's not even here yet, protecting the mom and baby when challenges arise and what does that look like and who can we access for support around that. And so there's just a lot of players involved, and the more that a family has, in particular the mom and baby, then the more protection, promotion, support that they have in order to move on through their breastfeeding journey in the way that works for them.
Great. Yeah, and it's wonderful, with a lot of these topics, including this one, that our community is one that does have so many various supports. And so, thus far, we've already talked about World Breastfeeding Week, a bit about the history and background, this year's theme, protection of breastfeeding, and something else that also comes up related to this topic is breastfeeding and COVID-19. What would you like to share for our listeners about that?
Well, there was a lot of questions around that, especially in the beginning. Is it safe to breastfeed your baby if you have COVID-19? And so what has come of that is the CDC now states that the current evidence suggests that breast milk is not likely to spread the virus to babies. We know that breast milk provides protection against many illnesses and the best source of nutrition for most babies. And so if a mom is thinking about breastfeeding and has COVID, then it is encouraged for the mom to either initiate, if she's just having the baby, to go ahead and initiate that breastfeeding relationship. And if a mom who is already breastfeeding and is concerned about the risks to the baby, that they continue to breastfeed. And, obviously they might want, or, it is recommended that they take precautions to protect the baby and themselves, and do that by, hand washing, mask wearing while breastfeeding, or when the mom is within 6 feet of the baby, and then just cleaning and sanitizing surfaces that the mom may have come in contact with. So just kind of all the same stuff that is recommended in general. But definitely, it is safe to breastfeed your baby. And as always, we recommend that if a family has any questions, that they reach out to their provider and talk to them about any questions or concerns that they may have.
Great, thank you.
And I did want to say also that moms who are breastfeeding, they can receive the COVID vaccine as per CDC.
Yeah, I'm trying to not ask too many questions because there's so much there. Just as a quick side note, is it possible to briefly share anything related to the vaccine and people who are pregnant or anything like that? I don't know if it's a little off topic. Maybe another time. We'll do a part 2. With respect to breastfeeding, we also want to celebrate families in Taos. When we talk about celebrating families in Taos here on the show, we try to, we hope that we are providing additional information for families and helping them feel supported. But how would you like to celebrate families in Taos with respect to World Breastfeeding Week?
Well, I think, again, after kind of this last year and a half of just the challenges that everybody faced, there were so many, not just breastfeeding, but around work and education and, so many things. We just want to congratulate the families on, the good work that they've done. For those families who were challenged in their breastfeeding efforts or, concerned around that, they did it. They made it through this time. We're still working through it. But, we were isolated, and but not only were there, these challenges, there was a lot of successes. And, again, just kind of recognizing that families have, been through the ringer and still come out, accomplishing goals that they set out to accomplish around breastfeeding, and just having their own unique individual experience. And as a provider, working as a home visitor, it was challenging for us as well. So not just moms and families, but the providers as well. But we found a way, and kudos to everybody who really stuck in there and was available to help in any way and making it work. And so, so we're just really grateful, especially at First Steps, to be able to serve our families in this way. And we just look forward to continued collaboration with families, with our partners, and getting the word out about breastfeeding and supporting our families collectively.
Wonderful. Yeah, thanks to you both. And in our last minute or so, just curious for our listeners who may have heard of First Steps or who may, recently become pregnant or wherever they're at in their journey, how can they get in touch with you all and perhaps ask a question or two, if that's come to mind during this conversation?
Well, they can look up our website. It's holycrossmedicalcenter.org/program/First Steps. And they can also call us at our office, and the number is 575-751-5764.
And actually, we have, all of our, pictures and kind of background information that families can go to and kind of get familiar with the home visitors.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again for you both being on. And it sounds like we're going to do a part 2, maybe with some community involvement, so listeners can eagerly anticipate that one. And thanks again for sharing World Breastfeeding Week with us, highlighting it, and doing all the work that you do for our community.